Hello there and welcome back. My goodness, it's good to be here. I don't know if you know this, if you were around, but I did for the second time in my entire channel's history. I hosted the hearing today in the case against Mr. Stephan Stearns, who is accused of horribly treating. You guys know what I mean, right? He was essaying for 5 years, according to police. Madeline Soto, he's accused of that. He's also accused in her murder, her untimely death, her demise that did not need to happen, of course, and was so brutal and was so senseless and was so sad. And today there was a hearing on the defense's motions to suppress certain evidence. And you guys know, if you've been watching, you know that sometimes I sneeze on camera. It's horrible. If you've been watching, you know that I think that the defense has a chance of winning at least one of these motions. It doesn't satisfy me to say that. I mean, I don't want that to be the case. But what I really want the most is for the justice system to be able to dispense the most justice to the most victims. And I usually refer to that as the integrity or the fidelity of the law. And it's more important than justice for Madeline, though justice for Madeline is so important, right? So for me, watching the hearing today was very much about trying to figure out if I'm right. And I do think that the prosecution scored a couple things. So my plan for tonight is just to have a discussion with you guys. I put up a poll. It appears I asked, did you watch part or all of the hearing? And so far, I'll just go ahead and it's 130 votes so far. I'm just going to go ahead and end that poll. 73% of you did watch part or all of the hearing. So we should have lots to say. So what you do is you put GF in your comment. That's going to help me on my side to be able to see the comments that you have. Before I go to your comments, let me just offer a couple things. Also, with the caveat that I was also working, like I have a day job. So I was also working. I wasn't able to put tons of attention to it, but I did the best I could. And then the court had an issue with the live stream that just stopped. So we didn't get to see the end of it. Let me give you a couple thoughts. First, let me give you just a quick update on the case. Join me over here on monitor 2, will you? This was brought to my attention by Jess, and that is that the jury trial that was scheduled for May 5th that we've all been saying, no, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It has been rescheduled for July 14th. It's my dad's birthday, actually. So couple things that have come onto the docket for today is the minutes for the hearing. The document itself isn't quite here yet. We're going to be able to get that, or it wasn't when I checked it like an hour ago, and I'm not going to refresh because this whole system will crash. But we have seen that it says trial reset on unavailability to try case within current trial period. All pretrial motions must be submitted to the court by June 30th. So it looks like Judge Karsten here is trying to move things along. It does not look like he gave an order from the bench. It does not look like, at least as of about 6:30, maybe 6:45 this evening, did not look like that he had given a written order. So we don't know what the response is or what the result is Yeah, let's bring Maddie's picture up. And as I say that, I just kind of feel like searching on Google to see if there's any breaking news. No, there's no breaking news. Just, Stephan Stearns was in court for the second day in a row today at a hearing to try to suppress the phone evidence. Okay, so maybe that's where we should start. Bring up Maddie again. Sorry. The defense had filed 3 separate motions in February. These motions were, hey, I forgot to mention that. Thank you. I just saw that come in. Super Charismatic, thank you very much for the super chat. Guys, I am getting my videos demonetized like crazy. So that's why I put a goal in there today. Like, I don't know what it is that I'm doing, but I'm getting, my videos are getting demonetized. 4 of my last 5 videos, not including today's earlier live stream, but we're demonetized. So thank you so much for the support that you give me. So Super Charismatic says, for your goal, thank you for the channel. It is exactly at the right time and the right length to keep me at my desk after work, so I spend more evenings studying for my hardest grad school class. Well, congratulations in grad school. That's pretty rad. Thank you for taking care of me. I appreciate it. Okay, so in February, the defense made 2 motions. Just as a quick summary, the first motion, this is in no particular order. Okay, the first one had to do with, they alleged that the seizure of Mr. Stearns' phone violated his rights that are protected under the 4th Amendment of the Constitution and the Florida Constitution, and yada, yada. Number 2 was anything that was found on the phone was obtained through an illegal search. And then the third one was anything found on the Google Drive was also obtained through an illegal search. It was a warrantless search, and they argue no probable cause, no exigent circumstances. That's really kind of what it boils down to, right? The prosecution says, yeah, they were warrantless searches, but we had Mr. Stearns' permission to do it. He gave us permission, and so we did it. And then, we did apply for a search warrant for the Google Drive, but only because we had seen what was on the phone. And the defense is like, exactly, you wouldn't have gotten there if it blah, blah. So that is the argument, okay? Now, I heard a creator today, as I was kind of checking in on the coverage that others had done, people that I love, people like really admire. And some of them I know personally, but one of them said, if the police look at your phone and they find CSAM on it, I want you to go away forever. And I totally get that feeling, that sentiment. However, it's important that opinion came from somebody who is not American, and we have a pretty unique legal system in that we were the first country to actually write a constitution. But anyway, I was horrified by that. No, if police do not violate your rights, that's the preamble that I would put in there. If the police do not violate your rights and they look on your phone and they find CSAM, I agree, you should be put away forever. But the protection of the law, see, the guilty should be protected so that the innocent should be protected. That's my point. Man, you guys are taking care of me. Thank you so much. What do we got here? These ones don't show up very well, so I have to Figure OS, closer to your goal, waiting for law bar exam results and PR. Wow, congratulations. I hope you pass. That is amazing. And then Susan Lewis, I can't believe Stearns had the unmitigated gall to stand up and testify that all he consented to was the map search. He's on audio consenting more to that. That is a great comment. That is a great because Mr. Stearns did. I mean, was it super charismatic? Is like, why is he swallowing the microphone? It was the most overly clipped audio. It was the worst. It was the worst. But he testified. Yeah, I gave them permission to look at settings. That was it. Wasn't quite it though, was it? So yeah. Anyway, so that is what happened today, and let me tell you a couple things that I think that the defense scored on. Okay, the first hurdle that they had is they had to get over, and I'm not going to explain this very well as I'm a layperson. I'm not a legal scholar, nor am I a lawyer, nor did I even come close to even thinking about actually going to law school. But what the defense had to do is they had to clear a legal hurdle that would make it so it would be the prosecution that had the burden. So their allegation that that Mr. Stearns, typically in law, if you make an allegation, you have to come with the receipts. But in this case, they made the motion, they made the allegation, and then because of precedent, if they cleared this hurdle, it would be the prosecution that would have the burden to prove them wrong. And in all three cases, they crossed that hurdle. There was an interesting moment when they got to the third motion, which was the Google account search warrant, and the defense was like, we have given all of the evidence in the first two motions. We don't want to present evidence again. And the prosecution was like, nay, they are supposed to give evidence. And well, anyway, the judge was like, so do we need to bring everybody back in who just testified to retestify for this? And the prosecution was like, let me consult with my colleague. We're not going to make you do that. It was really funny. But that one, they didn't clear their hurdle as clearly or as quickly, though they did clear it. So that is kind of where we are. Let me we got a couple more. Let me thank you guys for taking care of me. Holy cow. TJ, the girl with the big dog, said, I think that is supposed to be a naughty word, censorship on YouTube. Yeah, for some reason, YouTube just does not like it. What it is that I'm doing. Try saying the video is for educational purposes only. I have been putting it as, and thank you, Autumn, I have been putting it as entertainment because I've noticed that my peers do that, but maybe I should do it for educational purposes only. I think I do have a plan where I'm going to be able to figure this out. But thank you very much for the support. Okay, so now that we've gone through, you guys are always taking care of me, you guys. I love you so much for doing that. Let me. Remember, you put in GF for me to be able to see your comment. And we'll see what it is. Idea Delight says, replay crew, hi GF, you are my calming effect. Well, thank you. I've never thought that my voice was all that. My dad has a gorgeous voice. But a lot of you say that, and a lot of you say I should try ASMR, but the only ASMR I ever see is like where people with long fingernails tap on things, and that just drives me crazy. So I don't even know what I would do with ASMR. Tell me in the comments what I would do. Tamara Webster, do you think the state won today? I hope the state won today, and I hope they won. I hope they won because of the law. I hope they won on the law. I do. So the arguments that were made was basically, okay, They seized the phone. They had it for hours. They didn't give him a choice. And then the defense added he was surrounded by police. They were armed. A reasonable person would believe that he was not free to go. He was told he couldn't go back into the home. He was told he couldn't go into his car. A reasonable person would believe he had no choice. And then the other part of their argument was there was no probable cause and there were no exigent circumstances. Now the state, I think, where they did a very good job was laying out for the judge. And remember, this is for a judge, not for the jury. So they laid out for the judge. I don't think that they had a strong case for exigent circumstances, but I do believe they had a good case for probable cause. They talked about how Mr. Stearns had made statements that were demonstrably false, that they had the traffic cams showing that he was going places that he had claimed to not have gone, that they had cameras showing that Madeline was slumped over in the car, that they believed that she was already dead. That was enough to establish probable cause. I think that might be enough, though there is this whole what is a reasonable amount of time to keep something that you seize, which is the big question, right? Say, okay, we have probable cause to seize a thing, a phone, a pair of shoes, a pair of gloves, what evidence, right? We have probable cause, we're going to seize that evidence. The defense is arguing they seized it and say that they seized it legally, but they kept it illegally. And then they downloaded it illegally. That was the argument. I'm not saying that it's true. I'm just saying that's the argument. So that is the part where it's kind of blurry for me. I think that part is because I don't think the state proved exigent circumstances. I really don't. I do think they showed probable cause. Now, can they get past this hurdle of how long they kept the phone seized and what they did with the phone after the seizure? Because we really don't want our police officers, our law enforcement, to just be able to go and just pick something up and just say, this is ours now. And tell me later, you know how I told you, even though I didn't tell you, but you know how I told you that we wanted to download, we wanted to look at your phone. You're okay with that, right? So or do you want me to get a warrant? So that was another thing they argued that was coercion. It was coercive. So yeah, do I think the state won today? I hope the state won today on the law, and if they did, I hope. I think it was marginally. I don't think it was a clear-cut victory. I think it will go to the appeals process later. Yes, one man's trash. Look at that hair, getting long. Yeah, it is getting long. I think I've still got like a year and a half to go before I get to where it is that I want to be. Carmel says, yes, justice for Maddie. I think we all feel that. Carol says, judge has to decide if search was reasonable or if exigent circumstances existed. Yeah, and I just explained that I don't think they did. I think probable cause existed, though. One man's trash. I'm not gonna. I didn't take the time to prepare snippets of the hearing. It was a 3-hour hearing, and it's the video just before this one if you want to go check it out. There has been no ruling yet, Amy Liz, that I have seen anyway. I can, while we've got Maddie's beautiful face on the screen, I can refreshify over here and go through the search again because I think it's definitely going to be expired. Give me just a second. Let me... let's look just one last time. Bring you over here. Yeah, nothing yet. So nope, we don't have any evidence ruling yet. Okay. Mooney says she really enjoyed the hearing live today. Yeah, I hope I get to do that more often. Today was a day where I did have a lot of work to do on my day job. I don't know if you guys know this, but hyperlocal news, we are a very tight, what am I trying to say? Lean. We're a very lean crew. There's only a few of us working on the daily news. There are several others that are working on, long features and stuff like that, but I am on the crew where I do both. My afternoons are set aside for features. My mornings are for daily news. I counted today. I have over 4,000 bylines just in the last, I think it's about 3 years that I've been working for EYT Media. Crazy, right? So I had one of those days that was really busy. However, because I had multiple calls out and I was waiting for some call returns on a feature that I was working on, I was able to kind of get it up and going. I hope that I'll be able to do that more often. Nifty 50 says, if the judge has issued a written response and given it to the clerk of court for appellate reasons, I think if it's been delivered to the clerk of court, it would have been recorded. I really do. So it might be sitting in the clerk's inbox. Could be. But yeah, oral response, written response. Typically, when a judge will give an oral order from the bench, it is in the form of dictating a written order. They'll say, and now they'll look at their calendar. This 23rd day of April, 2025, having heard the arguments in the case of blah, 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 the court finds as follows. And it is so ordered that they will dictate a written response from the bench. So whether they give it orally or they give it in written format, it's the same. I mean, it's functionally the same. Okay, keep on going down. John Chalk says the motion to suppress will be denied. The defense did not prove that exigency did not apply. GF, for some reason, has decided to die on this hill, but he's wrong. The prosecution showed that. No, I'm hoping I'm wrong. I do not want this to be. I want the defense to lose, but I want them to lose I want them to lose on the law, something that is not going to be beaten on appeal later. So, I mean, it's perfectly fine for you to disagree with me. I just felt like they had a good argument. They had a good, solid argument. And to me, the exigency thing is the part where the prosecution did the worst. For me, it was the probable cause side where they did the best. And if they win, I think it probably is there. But again, guys, who am I? I'm a middle-aged fat dad sitting in my office in Western Pennsylvania, having no clue really about the law. I'm just a guy that enjoys watching it and reading it and reporting on it. Zach says, I had a video restricted just last week because it was a tangent to essay. YouTube seems to be on a warpath lately. Yeah, it's pretty tough. Christine Gingras says, Gavin, you need to contact YouTube directly to inquire what is going on that is causing you this BS. Yeah, unfortunately, Christine, I am a piddly little YouTube channel with no actual power. If I were named Mark Rober or, I don't know, Mr. Beast, I might have somebody at YouTube that I can call. I have literally no way to contact YouTube. I don't have that. But yeah, it's infuriating, right? I mean, the spirit of what you're saying, it is infuriating. Okay, Terry Cat says, Gavin, you say when the live starts that this video is for educational purposes only. You know what? Okay, I'm following you. I do see that Gizela says that, and I think that is, I should probably do some disclaimers. This video is for educational purposes only. It's for adults only. Viewer discretion is advised. I think that I will work on that. Thanks, Terry Cat. Okay, Heck Jess says, Gavin, the only people in the courtroom saw the whole hearing. I took 2 days off of work for the trial, and now I just have Cinco de Mayo and a recovery day. Well, how can you complain about that? And that's pretty cool that you were planning on going to the trial. That's really cool. Very cool. Okay, let's see. Skipping down. Heck, Jess, I took days off because I was going to drive down to Orlando and be there in real life. I hope you do it. I hope you do it. Idea Delight says, demonetized? Are chat writing out bad words like essay things? I don't think so. It might be. It might be. That's the thing that is so infuriating is they don't tell us the actual policy that we've run afoul of. It's crazy. Laura asked, did Maddie's mom show up in court today? So from my point of view, which was the camera's point of view, I didn't see anybody in the gallery. However, having said that, I think that had she been there, it would have been reported. So I don't think that she was there. Yes, Promise Roads, it could be that. But I'm also, I'm super grateful for however you guys support me. I really love the super chats. I really love the super stickers, but I also love that you comment. I love that we get to have these conversations. So if videos get demonetized from time to time, it's not the end of the world. It just seems to be happening a lot lately. Super Charismatic said he was gargling the microphone like a punk singer at a backstage at Warped Tour. That's funny. That is funny. All right. A couple more just came in. Oh, a lot more just came in. It just refreshed. Goodness. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, this is actually, like on YouTube, I don't want this to be an inside baseball on YouTube so much, so I can drop it. But the more revenue that you bring in for YouTube, the more lenient they seem to be. And I would love, like I'm working hard to do that because I love the platform. Okay, let me just keep on going. Jenny Denton says, Gavin, what? Your speaking voice is incredible. Read me some stuff for ASMR and I'd listen forever. What kind of stuff would I read? Like Dickens? I would enjoy reading Dickens. Emily53, Gavin, why does law enforcement keep making the same mistakes when it comes to getting a search warrant? Well, I think, to be fair, and by the way, it was fun to see the detectives' faces. We've heard their voices. It was fun to see their faces today. I thought that was really cool. And to be fair to our law enforcement heroes in this case, they've put together a freaking good case, guys. They have a hard job. They have a really hard job, and they have to make decisions in the moment. I think that this entire thing, this entire motion, I don't even think it would have made it to oral arguments had Detective Tagler just said, I'd like to look through your phone. Can I do that? Stephan Stearns would have said yes, and that would have been the end of it. However, she was dealing with a lot. They were having meetings. They were looking for Maddie. They were seeing evidence that she was gone. They were doing they were doing so much. So I'm definitely willing to extend a huge amount of grace. And I don't want there to be any adverse consequences to Detective Tagler or Detective Acosta or anybody else if the defense prevails here, because this will give them a very good learning opportunity. And I don't think that in their career they'll ever make a mistake similar to this again. I think that's good for the law. And if the prosecution prevails, I still think they've learned that really, really hard lesson. And I think it's great. I'm not out for any type of blood or pound of flesh on this. I honestly think that this group of detectives, deputies, officers, forensics examiners, all of them have put together a terrific case. This is one where the defense, I mean, this is kind of a standard objection, by the way. It's a standard motion. Oh, my client's rights were violated, and they usually fall flat on this one. This one, I think they had a little teeth. That's all I'm saying. Super Cosmetic says you should read sleepy time stories. I think with the amount of work that I'm doing, I think I'd fall asleep if I read sleepy time stories. But I will take your advice into consideration and even share it with my wife to see what she thinks. Okay. On the very first video of yours that I ever saw, I literally listened for like 90 seconds and said out loud, "Why do I already like this guy?" Ah, man, I didn't pre-read that comment. Thank you very much, Boggy Quagmire Hope. That was really cool. Okay. Oh, you guys are so kind about the voice. Let's get back to the case, though. Okay? All right. Canoon. That's funny. That is really funny. Tamara Webster says, Gavin, so if they find stuff, they have to go back and ask his consent to download it. Let me tell you what I think they should have done. We've talked about the in plain view doctrine on the channel. We've talked about the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine on the channel, not on the piano, on the channel. Let me pause for a second, okay? I'm going to get back to this comment. Guys, I could not sleep last night. I couldn't fall asleep, and let me tell you why. So I'm operating today on about, I don't know, 4.5 good hours of sleep. I'm trying really hard not to go to sleep early so that I can get a good night's sleep tonight. But yesterday, I don't know why. It's my age. But I put on the Xanadu motion picture soundtrack because I think it's rad. Jeff Lynne is amazing. Electric Light Orchestra. Are you kidding? Olivia Newton-John, Cliff Richards, Gene Kelly. It's a great soundtrack. I don't even care that the movie is campy. It's my guilty pleasure. I listened to the soundtrack. I also had kind of a long discussion over on Reddit with a guy that I've known for 40 years who, for some reason, I am the devil incarnate. If you want to find that conversation, just go to my Reddit, go to my account, look at my comments, you'll find it. But anyway, so I was already kind of amped up. And then like every time I could calm myself to the point where, oh, I'm feeling like I'm sleepy, Jeff Lynne's voice would come in. Why do I say... don't walk away. You know, it was so... I'm sorry that I sang. You guys, you'll have to forgive me. But I couldn't get that song out of my head. It was so frustrating. I was like up until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning just trying to get some sleep. And Jeff Lynne kept me up. So I am a little bit loopy today. Let's get back to your comment here, okay? So Tamara goes, so if they find stuff, they have to go back and ask for his consent to download it. Okay. First of all, let's talk about the plain view doctrine, okay? Mr. Stearns definitely gave Detective Tagler permission to look at his phone. And it came in the form of explicit verbal permission for a specific part of the phone, and then tacit permission by standing shoulder to shoulder with her while she's going through the phone and giving her the digits to unlock it and so forth. Okay? When Tagler saw something that would, have huge evidentiary value in that very moment, what she should have done is gone, hey, can I look through the rest of the phone? Is that okay? He would have said yes, that would have been enough. At the same time, they could call an on-duty emergency 24-hour number to explain to a judge why they needed a search warrant for that phone, and they could have done it in the moment. That would have fixed this entire ordeal, all of it. And I think, like I said before, I think Detective Tagler will never make this mistake again. I think she's a dang fine detective. I think she's really good at her job, and I think that she's gotten better because of this. So I don't think with Detective Tagler, with Detective Acosta, this will ever happen again. I think that the citizens of the greater Orlando area are better off for it. But yeah, that's my position, Tamara. And thanks for the comment. Appreciate it, or the question. Heck Jess says, listening to you read court documents I have already read is all I ask of you in your voice. Thank you for taking the cases more seriously than you take yourself. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the super chat. That is extremely generous. Tish says, Gavin, wasn't Stearns already under suspicion for Maddie's disappearance? Yes. So it's reasonable that they would have looked at his phone and would have found CSAM. So the leap to, and I'm going to take this to the extreme because that's where we find holes in an argument, okay? I'm not saying you said this. This is just my way of kind of contemplating what you're suggesting, okay? But the leap from I'm suspicious that he killed Maddie to I'm just going to go through his entire phone. I know you didn't say that. But that should frighten us all because we want innocence protected. In order for innocence to be protected, the guilty have to be protected too. Okay? So the good news is there are mechanisms that we just talked about where they don't have to make that leap. They can just go, you know what? I'm seeing him with a girl in his car in the passenger seat who looks dead. He is in different places than what he is saying when we look at all the license plate cams, all the traffic cams. He is lying to us. I could go to a judge and say, in my experience, remember, these detectives weren't in homicide. They investigated crimes just like the ones that were perpetrated against Maddie for 5 years. If you've ever read an affidavit of probable cause, they will say stuff like, based on my experience working as a law enforcement officer, I know that when people do these things, it is likely that they also do these things. And a judge goes, exactly, signs it. All they have to do is just follow the steps, and this wouldn't be a problem. Boy, man, I'm telling you guys, I really hope the prosecution wins on this. And I think if they do, it'll be on the probable cause, which is what you're talking about here, Tish. Thanks for that comment. Super charismatic. It sucks, but his defense really was doing the right thing to fight this. I know we all want the evidence in, but if it were us being accused of something we didn't do, we'd want that protection. Yep, you said it so much better than I've been saying it. Good job. Sarah says, Gavin, they told him he could pick it up after they downloaded it. They did. Yeah. The argument was that they illegally, by the way, and I can add to that, Sarah, in that Stephan Stearns said, okay, right? Like he agreed to it tacitly. However, what the defense was arguing is that his rights had already been violated hours before. So fruits of the poison tree. And so, like, this isn't a hill this is a hill I'm willing to die on. We want rights protected for the very reasons that Super Charismatic just enunciated so perfectly. Okay. You know what I really love about this community? You guys make me think about things. You really do. You make very, very reasoned, very logical, and very well communicated arguments, and I really love it. I really do. And in cases like these, it's not for me. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about what is going to uphold the integrity of the law. And I think going through this process, I just pushed the wrong button. We need Maddie. I think going through this process is going to ensure that it did. Fisher Blue, Gavin just got here. Will they go back to court for the judge's decision? No, likely the judge will just issue a written order is usually what will happen. I would imagine that this one's going to come down probably early next week. It could be sooner. Gianna says, Gavin, what was the deal with the defense lawyer and their secret? I heard something about a death certificate, but it's so much, legalese that I got lost. Did someone else pass away? Gianna, like, your guess about the defense's secret is as good as mine and as good as the judge's. And that is something that the judge brought up. He's like, so it's secret then? Yeah, I can't in good conscience share it with the court. Okay, well, that's going to make it very difficult for me to rule in your favor. Should we do this ex parte? No, in good conscience, judge, I can't do this ex parte. Well, quite a conundrum here. Denied. Right? It was interesting. I've never seen anything like it before. Maybe we'll see something like that again. I don't know. If this motion is ruled in favor of defense, can the evidence be brought forth in the other trial? So in the other trial, likely there would be these same arguments and these same steps that would have to be taken. Yeah, and between this trial and that trial, there could be new facts that come to light as well. Tish says it was postponed to July. They will have a written ruling per Grizzly. Yeah, that's usually what happens. Susan. All right, Susan disagrees with me. She says, Gavin, I think they did prove exigency. They had the last person who saw a missing child lying about his whereabouts, and they discovered he tried to destroy evidence twice. That is exigency. Yeah, okay. So I think that is a valid argument. I think it's a valid argument. The defense pushed back on that, saying he had already done it. There was no exigency. It was already done. And why didn't they, if there was exigency, could they not have just called the on-call judge? I mean, that's the point of the judge being there. That was the argument. Which one wins? I don't know. Susan, great reasoned comment, man. Sarah agrees with Susan. The exigent circumstances were he admitted to resetting the phone twice already. Yeah. Lee says another exigent circumstance is that law enforcement was looking for a missing child. Waiting a couple hours for a search warrant could have been too late if Maddie was still alive. I don't know that they argued that. In fairness, I was working I was on the phone for the last part of that. I was submitting an article. But I don't remember that being part of at least the written argument. I definitely I definitely agree that there would be urgency there. And I think that an argument could be made that it was exigent because of it, Lee. I think that argument could be made, and it would be a good argument. Just Ducky says, I want to know what messages they found on Maddie's phone. Yeah, there were a couple things, now that you mention it, that came up today that were new. Let me think about this. The first was that the messages between, at least they were new to me, or I had forgotten them. First was that the messages between Maddie and Stephan were, one, copious, which we knew, and two, late at night. So that was interesting to me. There was another one, though. Oh my goodness. It like, as the prosecution was making the argument, I was like, oh, this is new. And now I should have jotted it down. But yeah, there was, man, I'm going to have to go back and watch that now. Dang it. Zach says, you want them to lose lawfully. Yeah, I want the defense to lose lawfully for sure. And Zach says, we do want the defense to put up their best case because it reduces the number of vectors for appeal. Exactly. Fancy word, vector. Very good, though. Teresa says, I appreciate your neutral standpoint on the matter. I know which creator you're speaking about, and I actually ended that stream and came straight to you. That's funny. No, she's awesome. I like her. I love her. I'm a fan of hers. I would not ever think in those terms. And you know what? So as you guys know, I'm going to London in June for CrimeCon UK. If you guys are across the pond, you should grab your tickets. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm presenting with Joseph Scott Morgan, and he and I are going to be presenting on the Ellen Greenberg case, which is going to be fun. But so I go to London. This will be my 4th year that I'm there for CrimeCon UK, but I don't even know how many times I've been to London. I can't even count. Lots of friends there, lots of colleagues and acquaintances there, and it is very quick in conversations with friends across the pond just how different Americans are from the English and from people from the European continent. We have rights enshrined in our Constitution that are actually written down. And the Declaration of Independence says that it's not the Constitution that gives us rights. It's that we are endowed with these rights naturally. And the Constitution protects the government, protects the people from the government, giving them these enumerated rights, right? And protection from unlawful searches and seizures, the Fourth Amendment, is extremely important. And other people around the world just don't see it that way. And I think it has to do with just the fact that we were born out of revolution, our nation. Whether in one line of my family tree, I have an ancestor, his name was Nathan Fish, who fought in the Revolutionary War. And so I have a direct paternal line back to the Revolutionary War. I have other ancestors who came over later. I have ancestors all the way back to the Mayflower, but the nation itself and what would be in our metaphysical, whatever, DNA is this idea that we are endowed with certain rights that nobody can take away from us, whether it be a Republican style Congress, a parliament, a monarch, a president, what have you. They cannot be taken away. And in other parts of the world, that attitude doesn't exist. And it's deeply enshrined in me. Like, I believe it deeply. So, yeah, that's where I stand. But I want to lose. I want the defense to lose, like Zach said, lawfully. Jersey Red 13, Gavin, why didn't the officers get a warrant for the phone? I get not getting it initially, but I would think they would have gotten it after a few hours. Yeah, I would think so too. Like, just always get a warrant. in Pennsylvania, there are different levels to the judiciary, and the lowest level is the magisterial district court. Every county has at least one. The county that I live in is one of the least densely populated counties in the Commonwealth. We have 3. So there's always, and then if all 3 of our magisterial district judges just happen to like be hit by the same bus at the same time, or were on the same airplane that went down together, the neighboring counties pick up the slack. There's always a judge to call. And it sounds like in Florida, that's the way it is. I don't know why they didn't do it. I thought maybe they thought, well, we had consent, but that consent wasn't clear enough. At least not clear enough to avoid the proceedings that we've had over the last month. So I don't know. I don't think they'll make this mistake again. Okay, Gavin, defense wins this. Death will be off the table, and I bet he don't get life either. So I don't necessarily share your kind of grim outlook on this. Okay, if the defense wins on this, then the prosecution, along with their law enforcement partners, have other ways of getting that evidence admissible. One of those ways is to look at evidence that came in that would have resulted in eventually making it to the Google Drive. Because guys, it's the Google Drive that matters. That's all that matters, okay? To me, anyway. So if they had some other evidence that they got legally, and that would have inevitably taken them to that evidence, and they can argue that to a judge, and the judge can, if the judge agrees, then this evidence is back in. And so I bet just with that mechanism, they have 5 vectors, to use Zach's vernacular, to get the evidence back in. I don't think we should despair. Okay. One man's trash. I 100% agree with you. I want them to win with no chance of appeal. Yeah, and I've shared with you guys before, but we were a smaller community back then. I once attended it was the portrait hanging of a retired judge in my county, and I was attending it as a member of the media covering it for the local publication. The pride and joy of his professional career, his pride and joy was his family, and I thought that was awesome. And his band. It was so awesome to see our local judge play in a rock band on like Friday nights in the park. It was great. But so his pride and joy was definitely his family, followed by his music. But his professional pride and joy is that he had never lost an appeal. Like none of his rulings were ever overturned on appeal in his entire career. And one of the complaints that people had against that judge, and they brought it up in that little ceremony, was that, man, it just took him so long to come back with rulings, come back with orders. But he was like, but I never had a single ruling overturned on appeal. And I think a lot of judges, if they could have that, they would feel pretty darn great. Okay, oh, dang it just refreshed. So, and I'm going to go maybe another 5 minutes or so. Meredith says, after this ruling, will this topic be settled until appeal? Probably not. No, probably not. Because I think that the prosecution will try to get to this topic. Well, I mean, the topic, yeah, it'll be dead until appeal. But the evidence, I think that the prosecution will be able to get to it. Cat eyes wide open. Gavin, I'm confused. I thought there was a fax of the emergency warrant in the case file, along with the procedures for doing so. What am I missing? There was a warrant filed. Yes, there was a search warrant filed. In fact, that was presented today to the last witness. I mean, that's all it was. Did you sign this? Yes. Okay, no further questions, right? However, the defense is saying that came 4 hours too late, man. The deed was done. So, yeah, I think the answer to your question is the defense's position is it was done. It was not reasonable to have been done that late in the process. Turietta, the judge has not ruled yet. Patty Olson, if we are endowed with these unalienable rights, that reminds me of Star Trek 2? Star Trek 2? Inalienable human rights. That was the Wrath of Khan, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. If we are endowed with these unalienable rights, how can they take a permanent resident off the streets of Maryland with no criminal history and send him to prison in El Salvador? Patty, you are hitting a super hot button political issue. I just choose on my channel, though I have feelings about it and thoughts about it. I choose on my channel to do my very best to be apolitical. But I take your comment. Thank you very much. Sandbaby Stitches taking care of me. Thank you. Can you imagine the police taking his phone and discovering all he had on it? Seems like they should be able to keep it after that. And that is the argument that a lot of people, including creators that I admire and love, say. To me, no. He shouldn't be able to keep it after they've seen all of it if they saw it because they broke the law. That's the caveat, right? If this, then that. If they saw it because they broke the law, then no, it should not be admissible. And that protects all of us. Heck Jess says, I hope the judge rules on the 25th. That would be Friday. That the phone evidence can be used. That would be a great birthday gift for Mr. Stearns. I did not realize that. You got your finger on the pulse there, Jess. Sarah says, Gavin, Florida usually goes for the DP as a bargaining chip for life in prison with no parole. If he takes it to trial, he may get a lesser sentence and be out on 80% of his time. Yeah, I think that's a pretty typical leverage mechanism that prosecutors use. I think you're right. STL Cards, Gavin, you're sounding like you are on the defense's side. Too much negativity. If that is what you're hearing, I am telling you that is not what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I can say any more than that. But I take your comment. Thank you. I wonder if they have evidence that he sent pictures of Maddie to someone else. Oh, that's a great question. See, we don't know what evidence. We don't know the entirety of the evidence they have. We might be sitting here going, this is the most important thing. This pile of papers over here, but there's a mountain of papers over here. It could be. I mean, we don't know what's in the discovery packet. In fact, according to yesterday's hearing, the judge doesn't, the prosecution doesn't even know what's in discovery. There's something secret going on there. Elena Christine, is that how you say that? Or Christine? Love you take on this very neutral. Thank you. I do my best. Do my best. All right. We're coming up on an hour. Let's do a couple more. Penny agrees with me. I appreciate that. Yeah, what about the thousands of images on the thumb drive? Will those be used? Yeah, I think those are admissible, though I don't think, at least I don't suspect, I don't know, but I don't suspect any of those were of Maddie. If they were, I mean, not great. It's Maddie. Dang it. But evidentially speaking, great, right? Will anything happen to Tagler if the defense wins? I hope not, for reasons that I've already said. I mean, she's a great detective. She's really good. From, in my opinion, based on all of the case files and all of the reports that she's written, the case that they built against Mr. Stearns, she did a great job, and this was a learning opportunity. I hope that there are no repercussions against Detective Tagler. I think that she's a better cop for it. Yes, they're definitely going through, and I appreciate that. It's just advertising that isn't coming through. Ms. May said yes. Said, I bet Stephan Stearns kicked himself after giving permission for them to look at his phone for anything, especially if Jen Soto told him to. Yeah, guys, I'm so grateful that most criminals are just so stupid. I mean, they're just so stupid. I'm so glad that Mr. Stearns was stupid. But if you're ever in a position where you're surrounded by police officers, they have your house closed to you, you can't go in it, you can't get in your car, you're feeling a little overwhelmed, feeling maybe a little intimidated, and they're telling you, they're asking you the simple questions. You don't mind if I look at your phone, do you? The answer is no. Every time. I'm like, unless you're guilty, all you guilty folks, which I know no guilty folks watch this channel, but if you are just by chance lurking, go ahead and show the cops everything. But for the rest of us who are innocent of crimes, just the answer is no. Make them get a warrant. Don't voluntarily hand it over. Never, if you're inside your home and a police officer rings on the doorbell, never open the door. Just avail yourself of your rights. If you are detained or you are arrested, zip the boca, cállate. Just avail yourself of your rights that are enshrined and protected by the Constitution. Do that for yourself. Don't be stupid. Do you guys remember the what's the movie? Oh, was it called UHF? It was a Weird Al movie from the 80s. You're so stupid. Love that movie. It's been forever since I've seen it. Sarah says, I'm not negative, that she loves the discussion and hard to find intelligent conversations on issues nowadays. Well, I do my best, and thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. Click. There we go. Heck just says, my doormat says, do not let the cats out or the cops in. That's funny. Denise says, respectfully, lawfully or not, CSAM is a bigger crime than seeing something on someone's phone they didn't ask specifically for permission to look at. Okay. Thank you for the comment and for saying it so kindly. I disagree. And it's a matter of the scales of justice. Okay. It's a matter of the scales. And this is technical. I know. Well, it's not necessarily technical. Maybe it's philosophical. Okay. Maybe we're talking about differences of philosophy here. For me, it's about the scale of justice. Okay. I recognize that the position that I embrace is responsible for a few guilty people getting away with their crimes. And I hate that. But it also allows for the protection of the millions of other people that could be abused by the system if we let them do that, if we let the system do it. So it's a matter of weighing those things, and it's just way more important to me. Having said that, Denise, this is a great comment, and I appreciate the tone. Okay, I'm just going to do maybe a couple more here. Cat Eyes Wide Open says, I've been in a rabbit hole today and it's getting interesting. I need to do more digging tomorrow, but I've got an inkling of where it may lead. Well, I hope you enjoy that rabbit hole. And the last one, Wild Wanderer, Gavin, my ancestor, was one man in history that was there for the signing of the Declaration. The Constitution included. Mayflower ancestors too. Morris is the last name. Well, that is terrific. I love family history. In our entryway, we're blessed with a pretty cool house. It's the first floor of our house. If you look at the clue board, that's the first story of our house. It's like almost exactly, instead of having I can't remember that, like, we don't have a pool room, but we have a music room or something, but the layout is the same. So when you enter our home, you enter into a pretty big room because it's a Victorian home. And so it's not like you're entering into a hallway like all the other houses that we've ever owned. It's one of the benefits of living in Western Pennsylvania. We have some of these amazing historic oil heritage era mansions, kind of like Sacramento has that in the fabulous 40s because of the gold rush, and Midtown and downtown too. So many like amazing Victorian mansions because of the gold rush. In Western Pennsylvania, we had the oil rush about 10 years after the gold rush. So we have these, some of the most just beautiful homes I've ever seen in my life. And we bought one of those homes and it was cheap. Anyway, when you go into our home, you actually have to go through 2 sets of double doors because we live in a place where there's snow. And when you go through the second set of double doors, when you look over onto your right, I have a big family history chart that has 9 generations of my family. And I love it. I refer to it all the time. I forget, when was Grandpa born? I can't remember that. Run back over to check it out. I just love that kind of stuff. And I love family history that goes through important historical events, right? It's just so cool. But yeah, I am also a direct descendant of the Mayflower. To my knowledge, I don't think any of my direct ancestors were at the signing of the Declaration and then later the signing of the Constitution. That's pretty amazing. Or the ratification of the Constitution. Pretty cool. All right, guys, what a great conversation. And we didn't even get into any documents today. It was just a fun conversation. I don't know that we've done this before. It's great. So what's the plan? Oh, we do have some documents coming in that I've requested that I expect tomorrow. So we will be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time to go over some documents, which is really kind of our bailiwick around here, right? It's really what we like to do. So if that is your thing, please join us. Let's do a quick check-in with our subscriber count. Look at that. Looking up in the corner, I'm looking like in a different corner, but up in the corner there, 116,604 fishies in the bowl. I love this community we're building. Hey, speaking of communities, let me bring this up over here. If you go to my website, this is the very end where I do shameless pitching, but head to my website. Man, all the Crime Cod articles. If you guys are into true crime, I'm telling you, this is a place to get your fix for true crime. If you go over to cases, you will be able to see the amazing Madeline Soto case file, which I have so much more to add to. I just need to have the time to do it. But this is a page that I'm just going to do this real fast. Watch this. Oh my goodness, so much. It's not even loaded yet. So there's so much there. But, excuse me, click on this little fishy icon. That will take you to our community on Facebook. It's called the Fish Tank. We've got, I think, 4,102 members of the Fish Tank. I'm so grateful to Pat and Jamie for managing the Fish Tank. I hop in there occasionally as well. I'll put in posts, I'll comment, and things like that. So if you're on Facebook, you want to join our little community, you're invited. Consider this your cordial invitation. Also, remember that you guys have taken care of me today, and I deeply appreciate that. If you go over to the support me and scroll down to the bottom, would you take care of my mod, my lead mod, my boss mod, Autumn, by buying her a coffee? I would deeply appreciate that. Is there anything else that, like, merch is available? I haven't added anything to the store in a while, but I will tell you the one thing that is selling more than anything else is the black Cluvelta coffee mug. If you don't know about Cluvelta may be right for you. And you guys will notice that my murder board, I need to hide the subcount. My murder board right up there in the corner is brought to you by Cluvelta. All right, guys, enough horsing around. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for those who disagree with me, those who agree with me, all of you who support me, show me so much love. I deeply appreciate it. Hope to see you tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, I bid you adieu. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.